Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
You're live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Village of Sleepy Hollow Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for April 21st, 2021. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, okay. Due to public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing will not be in person. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, the public hearing will be held by video conferencing and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The public will not be permitted to attend the public hearing in person at any remote location where a zoning board member may be situated or at any other location. The public will have an opportunity to see, hear, and provide comments at the public hearing, however. The public hearing can be watched live on cable TV, online on the village's website, and through Zoom video conferencing. If any interested member of the public would like to comment on the applications, he or she can call into the meeting or can speak through Zoom video conferencing. Written comments may also be sent in a manner ensuring receipt by 4 p.m. on the day of the public hearing by mail to Chairman Timothy Church, care of the Village of Sleepy Hollow, Department of Architecture, Land Use Development, Buildings and Building Compliance, 28 Beekman Avenue, Sleepy Hollow, New York, 10591, or by email to Mr. McCarthy, smccarthy@villageofsleepyhollow.org. Please check the village's website for updated information and instructions to participate in the public hearing. So we have 3 items on the agenda. One is the continued public hearing for GTY NY Leasing Incorporated. We've already read the public notice on that, so I will turn it over to the applicant to update us on the changes to the application.
Nancy, you have to unmute.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Very-
Does everyone have the new set of drawings that I had sent over to Sean? Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to start with the sidewall sign that we have done as you requested. We have reduced that to 15.7 square feet. It is no longer internally illuminated channel letters. They are backlit halo letters, and I believe you have a night shot along with that to show it. So there'll be no face lighting on them, and there will be no floodlights or no fluorescent lights. It just comes out the back of the opaque letter and kind of halos it on the back of the building. So we've reduced the size and didn't put the internally illuminated letters.
Sean, does this affect the application request for variances in any way?
Well, first of all, the size of the signs have been reduced, so that's fine. That's in keeping with the notice. It'll be less restrictive here. Secondly, the type of lettering that is proposed now would be in compliance with the sign ordinance, so that should not be an issue either.
Okay, so we are no longer looking at the type of sign. That's the 5th variance on the notice, which is the rear sign is proposed as a vacuum plastic form-based sign. We're back.
Correct.
Okay,
If you recall, the notice was really each sign, there's 2 signs here. There's one on the front of the building, there's one on the side because it's a corner building. They
Right.
each have the same, originally had the same variance requests. So yes, both signs have been reduced in size and they have both been changed in material, and the lighting also has been changed.
okay. So we're not looking at the type of material anymore. The only variance requests before us are in the size of the sign.
Correct.
And how, before we had some numbers, how much reduction is there in the sizes of the signs?
Nancy, do you want to explain how much you reduced it?
I didn't pull the old ones out. I want to say that it was 50 something. If you can give me a minute, I can probably get that for you. Because we had a question on the way it was being computed too.
That's correct.
Right, so mine may not be marked correctly. This file is so thick.
While she's looking for that, is it okay if I ask Sean a question?
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry, I don't have the list of variances in front of me because it was a couple of meetings ago, but the question that I have is, isn't there also a variance for it to be illuminated on the side?
No, they're actually allowed to have.
It's as of right.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, the question was really the type of lettering and the fact that they were illuminated.
Thank you.
And again, if you recall, I think we mentioned it at the last meeting, because it is a gas station, they are allowed to have these additional signs that are as of right, meaning the pedestal sign that's out in front of the building, the signage that's on the canopy, as well as the signs that are on the pumps.
And the fact that it's a corner lot, you've got the two.
The two main identification
yep.
signs are
Yep.
also permitted. The one thing I will note, being out there in the past couple of weeks, I noticed that they do have excessive stacked products in front of the building. That actually counts as signage, but it's really more of an enforcement issue with us. So that does actually count as signage when you stack it in front of the building like that or in the windows. The other thing too, I looked into, and it was a question last month, was the time frame, how long the lights could be left on. Our code does require that illuminated signs have a timer that will turn them off, I think by 2:00 a.m.
I do believe we were right around 40 square feet, Sean, if I'm looking at the correct one. As I said, I probably have 50, but I think this one that was dated, the original one back in the end of February was the one I submitted to you.
Right.
I believe it was 40 or a little bit better than 40.
Yeah, I think right now, based upon the last submission, I think the front sign was somewhere around 18 square feet, and the side sign it's actually less. It's probably closer to 8 square feet.
Which ones are you looking at, Sean? Because I have the side sign, if we're figuring it out the way you did, from the top of the logo to the bottom of the letter,
Correct.
by the width. And I'm sorry, what did you say you have for it?
I think the side sign I had just under 8 square feet. Is that right?
No, I think it's at 15.7.
Yeah, I had in the seventh variance request, the original proposed area was 19.4 square feet.
Let's see what we got here.
29 inches by 80. Give me 1 second and we'll do that, 29 by 80, because that should be correct. Yeah, I have it at 15.7 square feet now. If I go from the top of the squirrel, it's 2 foot 5 inches high from the top of the squirrel logo to the bottom of the letters.
Right.
And it is 6 foot 6 inches wide.
Right, but you don't have to count. In other words, you don't square off that whole area.
Okay,
Yeah, you just in other words, you just square off the squirrel.
the squirrel and then the
Yeah.
logo, okay.
Right,
Thank
so
you.
the squirrel is connected to the Chestnut Market, and that's it. So you can almost cut that in half.
Thank you. Okay,
Sure.
then we are on track.
So then there's no variance request needed for number 7 either. Because it's
Yeah,
below-
and the front, I also calculated that to be under 19 square feet.
under
And,
nine-
and again, you also have to take in consideration to the placement of the sign, if it's appropriate for where it's being placed on the building. And I think, as reducing it in size, I think fits in scale a lot better than what was originally proposed.
Exactly. And I mean, just even if you shrunk the side one anymore, I think it would look ridiculous there. So yeah, I do appreciate the changes that you've made. I was definitely more concerned about the side than the front. I think shrinking it and backlighting it the way you've done it certainly meets the issues that I had with it. So
Yeah, I-
No, from the last meeting, that was also my issues with the side one. So yes, I do like it. I actually, from what it looks in front of me, I like it. And I like it that the night, when the night view, it's not so bright. So that's very good. Thank you very much, Nancy.
You're welcome. And the front sign, in addition to the slight reduction in it, we have also chosen to backlight that one as well. No, same thing as the side.
Yeah, it looks really elegant. I think it's definitely an elevated look. So I appreciate you're taking that extra step with both of them.
You're welcome. Does anyone have any other questions for me?
not for you, it's just mechanically how this works, where, it looks like the sizes of the signs are actually below the threshold. And so they comply with zoning, and I'm not sure we need to grant a variance. So we definitely don't need to grant a variance for 1 and 5 in the notice, and then it doesn't look like we need to grant a variance for 3 and 7. That's the square footage. So then it comes down to maximum permitted height and maximum permitted letter heights. And for the life of me, it looks like the letter heights are in compliance too. So then it's really just the maximum permitted sign height. And I think we're all essentially agreeing with the way it's configured now. Does that make sense, Sean?
Yeah, I was just going to say the 3'9" is the proposed height when you combine both the logo and the lettering.
Mhm.
And that would be the only issue right now. And again, because of the way it's laid out and the fact that it's proposed in the pediment or the triangular gable end, it's probably the only way of doing it and makes sense.
Okay, so when we make a motion, we'll just make a motion to grant a variance for the 2nd and 6th items on the
That's correct.
in the request. Okay, all right. So I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on the application? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for variance. Our article numbers 2 and 6 on the public notice, and these relate to the maximum permitted heights of the sign. Note that the applicant made significant reductions in the type of sign and the size of it. It's highly appropriate for the gas station, and that corner, the lighting is muted compared to what it was before, and has a timer on it that will shut it off at some point in the night. I don't think it will cause a detrimental effect to the neighborhood. There's no environmental impact, and there's a lack of public opposition to it as well. Is there anything else anyone wants to add for these reasons? All right, then, I'll make the motion. Does anyone want to second it?
Aye.
Did I hear somebody?
Sandy said yes.
I said
Same.
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? I just want to be clear because the connections aren't great. No nays. Okay, so everyone's in favor. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Sean, do I need to attend tomorrow night's meeting?
Yes, so
Okay.
you'll attend the planning board meeting and hopefully we can wrap everything up there.
All right, very
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Everyone.
Great.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, turning to the second item on the agenda. And if my connection fails, can someone just speak up? Appreciate that. Please take notice that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Sleepy Hollow will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 8 p.m. to hear and consider the application submitted by David Starkey to construct a two-story addition, covered porch, and a second floor garage addition where the following variances from Chapter 450 of the Code of the Village of Sleepy Hollow are required. Article 6, 450-34B, applicability of regulations, adding to and altering an existing non-conforming building. Principal building, minimum front yard setback 20 feet, existing front yard setback 16.8 feet. Accessory structure, minimum side yard setback 3 feet, existing side yard setback 2.6 feet. Article 7, 450-35, Schedule of Regulations. Minimum front yard setback 20 feet, existing front yard setback 16.8 feet, proposed front yard setback 16.8 feet. Article 7, 450-40E2C, Coverage and Open Space. Location of accessory uses in residence districts. Minimum side yard setback 3 feet, existing side yard setback 2.6 feet, proposed side yard setback 2.6 feet. The property involved in the application is located at 199 Weber Avenue, is situated in the R3 zoning district, and are shown on town tax assessment maps as section 115-8, block 1, lot 8. Plans and other materials associated with the proposed application may be reviewed and downloaded from the village's website. Due to public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing will not be in person. In accordance with Governor's Executive Order number 202.1, the public hearing will be held by video conferencing and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The public will not be permitted to attend the public hearing in person at any remote location where a zoning board of appeals member may be situated or at any other location. The public will have an opportunity to see, hear, and provide comments at the public hearing. However, the public hearing can be watched live on cable TV, online on the village's website, and through Zoom video conferencing. If any interested member of the public would like to comment on the application, he or she can call into the meeting or can speak through Zoom video conferencing. Written comments may also be sent in a manner ensuring receipt by 4 p.m. on the day of the public hearing by mail to Chairman Timothy Church, care of the Village of Sleepy Hollow, Department of Architecture, Land Use Development, Buildings and Building Compliance, 28 Beekman Avenue, Sleepy Hollow, New York, 10591, or by email to smccarthy@villageofsleepyhollow.org. Please check the village's website for updated information and instructions to participate in the public hearing. Dated March 29, 2021, by order of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Sean, have all the returns been received on this application?
Yes,
Thank you. So is the applicant present? And we'd like to hear from the applicant.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm joined by our architect, Louis.
Good evening. I'll kind of summarize. Well, you did a very good job already summarizing.
Your connection, unless it's just me, your connection is a struggle right now.
You can't hear me?
Tim, I don't know, it might be on your end. I can hear him pretty well. I don't know
Tim, I-
anybody else.
Fine.
Yeah, I hear him fine too.
Sorry.
We
Sounds
can
good to me.
all hear him fine, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, I think it's your side.
Should I continue or is it okay for me to continue?
I think Tim disappeared.
Yeah, we need to make sure Tim can hear you.
Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear Craig fine. I can, for whatever reason, I'm struggling with your connection. Is anyone else struggling with the connection, or is it just me?
No, it's
No,
just,
everyone else is hearing me.
Tim, can I suggest that you call the 646 number,
Okay.
and then you could just mute your Zoom.
I could play a little music to lighten the mood. Just bear with us.
Hopefully this will get better as people get vaccinated.
Yeah. I think our boards are going to be meeting in person next month. Because they,
You know, there's some benefit to not having to travel sometimes too.
Yes, there is.
I think I've averaged about 15 extra hours a week personally. Thanks for your patience, guys.
I see Tim talking.
Yeah, he is muted. I don't know if he knows that or not.
Tim, can you hear us? I was hoping he could call in from a phone, you know? There's a dial-in number.
Yeah.
Tim, can you hear us? I think you're muted.
Apologize all, but it's telling me that number doesn't exist. The meeting ID number doesn't
Oh.
exist.
Oh.
But we could hear you now. Maybe we try it.
Yeah,
Well,
my
the
problem
issue
is I
was
can't-
him hearing me.
Can
Can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah, I'm in and out. I suggest I'll keep trying, and I think you can proceed, to talk about the application with the remaining board members. And I'll try to pick up whatever I can pick up, and I'll try to keep calling into the meeting. I don't want to delay matters.
Okay. My name is Lou Saiz. I'm the architect for 199 Weber Avenue. And tonight, you've done a good job on summarizing what we're pursuing tonight is 2 area variances, one for the front yard and one for a side yard for the accessory. Both structures are existing non-conforming. And just to give you, I'm going to share my screen right now. Where are we? Just to give you a quick walkthrough, this is the house here, 199 Weber Avenue. This is the garage that we're going to be talking about. Going north from the property, these are the homes that exist in the area, 200 Weber Avenue. Next to that is 213 Weber Avenue. Across the street, these are the homes that exist, 192, 190, 188, 180. Further down is 174. Then across the street is 187 Weber. And then 191 Weber, which is right next to 199 Weber. The last 2 photos I have here are just photos that are a little bit further down the street, just to show that in this neighborhood, there is an existing precedence that some homes are very close to the road. And this photo here is to the north, and this is down to the south of 199 Weber. So what we're here for is a variance for a front yard setback. The existing home is 16.8 feet from the front property line. During this pandemic, the Starkeys realized that they don't have enough, or found themselves that the house is not big enough for them inside. And on days that the weather is foul, they didn't have a place to really escape to. And those are the reasons why we've developed, are developing, or would wish to develop these 2 areas that were here for variances. The front porch came about because on days that are raining, they would like to have some place where they could escape and have some privacy to themselves outside, but protected from the elements. And what we're proposing here is a open porch, which is aligned with the existing house that, like I said before, is existing non-conforming. The front yard is supposed to be 20 feet and the existing is 16.8. So the porch, since it's aligning with the existing, will be 16.8 feet from the front. That would require a 3.2 foot variance if the board would grant it. In regards to the garage, it's the existing non-conforming. It's 2.6 feet from the side property line, 3 feet is required. As it exists, it's a hip roof. And you can see that, I showed you the photo before, but here's another photo. And basically what we would like to do is remove the roof and create a gable end where their daughter could have a art studio that she could go and just, create. And basically how it works is that the staircase will be in the back. Right now, the rear yard is split. There's an existing retaining wall and a staircase that leads to a higher rear yard. And then from that yard, there will be a small staircase that would lead to that upper level attic area, which will be the art studio. If you look at the elevation itself, this is the property line and this is the 3 foot mark. So we're basically talking about a 0.4 foot variance, and what the increase in volume or whatever you want to refer to it is very minimal. I mean, all this is in compliance. It's just this little area that's requiring the variance. If we go to the front, this is the, sorry, let me go back to the previous one, because this is the existing floor plan of the house. So essentially what we're doing is filling in this area here to create an open porch where they could escape to when they have those days that the weather is inclement and they just want to have some privacy from the rest of the family. So we're aligning the open porch with the existing. This dashed line here is the 20-foot required setback. So here we're looking for a 3.2 foot variance to allow us to be able to create this open porch. Here is the existing exterior elevations, and this is the proposed. We're basically going to take the existing hip roof and we're going to just expand it to the side, maintaining the existing pitch, and we're just going to have a colonnade with guardrails and all open. So it's just somewhere they could escape to. The last photo I wish to present is just the side elevation. And the dashed line, once again, is the 20-foot setback. And we're going to have a small staircase that's going to come down to the driveway. And it's just going to be an open porch. It's our opinion that what we're proposing is not outrageous. It's not going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. It's going to increase the street appeal to both the front of the house and also the garage. And that's basically it. We hope that the board would be open to this improvement. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and I hope I can answer them.
Thank you, Louis. I have a question, if it's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Can you show us the elevation of the garage again?
Sure.
I'm just trying to understand. There's already, I didn't think that there was any change from what is existing, although it's non-conforming in terms of how much we're encroaching beyond the line. Can you just review that?
This base is the same. It's not changing at all. So what is changing, you can look at this photo, it's a very low pitch hip roof that exists on the existing garage. So we're going to be ripping that off and putting a high pitched gable on the top. So we're basically just replacing the roof. So this encroachment, where it is non-conforming, the increase is minimal. It's
Well,
not.
that's what I
a
was
lot.
trying to understand. You already have a roof that goes beyond the base with the existing roof,
Correct.
even though it may not. So I was just trying to clarify for anybody else, including myself, what the differential is from what is there today. And I was trying to calculate based on your application, and I didn't see that it was changing, but I didn't know if I read that correctly. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, basically the existing roof probably pitches up to this point here. So it's just basically this little area here is the increase.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
One of my questions, the little art studio, could it be in the future, be someplace that can be rented?
There's going to be no bathroom or any water service going to that building. And chances are David, correct me if I'm wrong, are we going to put any conditioning in there? Air conditioning or heating?
No, actually, electrical, I would think, but there's
Yeah,
definitely no
electrical
plumbing.
outlets, but are we going to do heating or air conditioning?
There's no plans for that, no.
So it's an unconditioned space, so it really is not going to be year round. So the chances of it becoming an illegal apartment, I think close to none.
It would be none.
I'm pretty sure Sean will make sure too.
What would he say?
Anything else?
Can I ask about the front porch?
Sure.
So what sort of materials are you using for the front porch?
Since I really haven't designed, all I've done is put together a presentation for a variance, but if it were up to me and David, you could chime in if you want. I would say we're going to go with fiberglass columns and AZEK or plastic materials for the rails and all white, basically. AZEK on the fascia boards and Go ahead, David.
I'm not too current on, the proper materials, but we definitely wanted to match our existing home, which is primarily wood shingle, wood frame. So, we don't want it to look out of place. But I didn't really give it too much consideration. I don't think we want any kind of plastic look, that's for sure. But
then that means we're going with wood.
Plastic's come a long way, but
I have a question for Sean. Did the notices go out, and are any of the neighbors in opposition to this?
So all the notices went out and were received. We did not receive any comments by email or phone call from the neighborhood at all.
Thanks.
Sure.
And there's going to be no change of use to the garage. It's still going to be a garage?
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-car garage. The only change will be the art studio that's above.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
just want to add that, we don't have a finished basement. And so a space where I think we were also going to use it as possibly a place where we could exercise during, poor weather. And and then just a place for my daughter to spread out with all her materials, which is sort of consuming our dining room and other spaces of the house.
Thanks for bearing with me all. Are there any other questions from the board?
Not for me.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on the application? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Does the board have any comments on the application?
I do not.
Seems pretty straightforward. It's stuff that's already existing. I don't see any issues.
Yeah, I mean, the only area increase is the porch, but it's within keeping with the rest of the building.
Just an extension of the other part.
Yeah, everything's consistent with where they are already, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the application as the board commented. The only increase in square footage is an extension of an already existing porch. These are existing setbacks. There's no increase in footprint to the garage. It's just an increase in the roof height and the type of roof. And the property will be enhanced, as will the neighborhood. There's no environmental impact. And there's also no public opposition. So is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. And again, thanks for bearing with me.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you very
great
much.
evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Too.
Okay. Please take notice that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Sleepy Hollow will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 8 p.m. to hear and consider the application submitted by TAPZ Realty LLC to convert part of the ground floor commercial space to 2 residential apartments where the following variances from Chapter 450 of the Code of the Village of Sleepy Hollow are required. Article 7, 450-34-B, supplementary regulations, adding to and altering an existing non-conforming building or lot. Required parking spaces 17, existing parking spaces 0. Article 8, 450-51C, supplemental regulations, off-street parking and loading space. Required parking spaces 20, existing parking spaces 0, proposed parking spaces 0. The property involved in the application is located at 47 Clinton Street, is situated in the C2 zoning district, and are shown on town tax assessment maps as section 11515, block 2, lot 24. Plans and other materials associated with the proposed application may be reviewed and downloaded from the village's website. Due to public health and safety concerns related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the public hearing will not be in person. In accordance with the governor's executive order number 202.1, the public hearing will be held by video conferencing and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The public will not be permitted to attend the public hearing in person at any remote location where a zoning board of appeals member may be situated or at any other location. The public will have an opportunity to see, hear, and provide comments at the public hearing, however. The public hearing can be watched live on cable TV, online on the village's website, and through Zoom video conferencing. If any interested member of the public would like to comment on the application, he or she can call into the meeting or can speak through Zoom video conferencing. Written comments may also be sent in a manner ensuring receipt by 4 p.m. on the day of the public hearing by mail to Chairman Timothy Church, care of the Village of Sleepy Hollow, Department of Architecture, Land Use Development, Buildings and Building Compliance, 28 Beekman Avenue, Sleepy Hollow, New York, 10591, or by email to smccarthy@villageofsleepyhollow.org. Please check the village's website for updated information and instructions to participate in the public hearing. Dated March 29th, 2021, by order of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Sean, have all the returns been received for this application?
Yes, the application was properly noticed.
Thank you. I should have, on the prior applications, read the documents we received, but we received the Zoning Board of Appeals application, Westchester County Recording and Endorsement page, Westcore Land Title Insurance Company Schedule A description, Town of Mount Pleasant documents, the bargain and sale deed, the Grantors Acts, a survey, an existing and proposed floor plans, off-street parking map, site location map, and site photograph. I believe we also received a parking study as well. So we're now ready to hear from the applicant.
Hey, Sean, do you see James Vasilati there trying to get in or no?
He is.
He's on mute.
He's on mute.
He's on mute.
Yeah.
You can see that he's there though.
I guess he's titled under your name.
Oh, both of us are.
Okay, I'll change him up.
So if he logged in under, I just forward, oh, I see. I see.
I think someone just has to unmute him. I don't know, Sean, if you have the ability to unmute.
Yep, I will.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anyhow, thanks for having us back again tonight. And I just want to introduce two individual consultants we have here tonight is Anthony Giofri and Carlito Holtz. And they'll be working with us on this case. Anthony, I believe you agreed that you would start off.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Tony Joffrey. I'm a member of the law firm Cuddy and Fader, 445 Hamilton Avenue, White Plains, New York, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. And as Mr. Vasilati indicated, Carlito Holt, our traffic engineer, is here this evening as well. This application seeks to make improvements to an existing 4-story structure that's located at 47 Clinton Street. The premises right now is being utilized on the first floor as a laundromat, and floors 2 through 4 are used for residential purposes. Floors 2 through 4 have 9 apartments. There are 6 one-bedroom apartments and 3 3-bedrooms. And this application is proposing to reduce the size of the first floor laundromat by half, to reduce it in scale by 50%. And in that space, improve it with 2 additional residential dwelling units, 1 one-bedroom and 1 studio unit. The application is before your board this evening for various off-street parking. The premises currently does not have any existing off-street parking spaces, and the number of parking spaces that are required presently under the zoning is 18 spaces, my understanding, 16.5 spaces for the residential units and 1 space for the laundromat. There is a delta of additional spaces that will be needed by the modification of the 50% space of the laundromat to the residential units, which will require additional spaces of 2. I do note that the code does provide in section 450-60 continuation that the use or structure existing at the effective date of the chapter can continue. So there is a pre-existing non-conforming situation with respect to the parking spaces. and we're seeking effectively a variance for the delta of those spaces. I'm certainly not going to try to speak for Mr. Holt, who can outline his memorandum, which identifies the parking needs for this site as well as the parking that's available in the area. So, Mr. Holt?
Can I just ask one question? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that the conversion from the entire laundromat on the first floor to half laundromat and 2 apartments is a net effect of 2 additional spaces required. Is that correct?
It's my understanding, and based upon the materials that have been submitted and based on the notice, I believe 20 spaces are required. And presently, the required number of spaces for the existing is 17. So I believe I believe it's three spaces.
Thank you.
I'm gonna maybe try and clarify that a little bit as well. So good evening, I'm Carly Holt, managing partner with Provident Design Engineering. We are the traffic engineering consultant for the application. We did prepare a parking study that was outlined in a letter dated April 14th, 2021. Yeah, I think the public notice indicated a net differential of 3 additional off-street parking spaces. However, in our calculations, I think what was omitted in that calculation was the amount of laundromat area that would be displaced by the residential. So although the new residential units would per code require 2.5 rounded up to 3 additional spaces, the reduction in laundromat size by approximately 1,000 square feet would negate the need for 1 off-street parking space for the laundromat. So it's really a net need of 2 additional off-street parking spaces per the code. We also performed parking calculations based upon rates published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And that also confirmed that the off-street parking requirements for the change in use would be 2 additional off-street parking spaces. And beyond doing that calculation, we did perform on-street parking surveys in the area.
Before you move on from that, thank you. I just want to ask Sean, did you work with Sean on those calculations? And is that correct, Sean, is really the net effect 2 additional spaces?
No, as per the notice, we calculated it to be 3.
Yeah, I think the plans, and Jim, you can jump in here. I believe the plans, the parking table on the cover sheet,
Yes.
identifies the total existing square footage of the laundromat, and it didn't account for the portion that would be displaced.
Right. I mean, the entire first floor is 1,850 square feet. And we wanted to reduce the laundromat to 790 square feet, with 1,060 going to the residential.
Right. So if you look at it right now, if you just consider the first floor, the laundromat today would require 2 off-street parking spaces.
Okay.
And where the residential would require 3, but you're going to eliminate the need for 1 laundromat space. So that's the net delta in 2 that we're calculating based upon the parking study we performed. And I'll just also reiterate that's supported by the Institute of Transportation Engineers calculations as well.
You're not asking for a variance, you're asking for more zoning variance.
Well, we're asking for a variance, but the variance is really for 2 spaces and not 3.
Yes, 2 spaces.
Carlito, maybe you can just walk through the spaces in the area and the ability for the area to absorb the additional spaces.
So beyond that calculation, we also did an on-street parking survey of the area, and that was performed on a weekday at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And we also performed 2 nighttime on-street parking surveys on a Thursday and a Friday, both at 9 p.m. Based upon those surveys, we found that there was on-street parking available to support the 2 additional off-street parking spaces that would be seeking a variance for. So we feel that that on-street parking can accommodate those 2 additional spaces needed. The other thing that is very important to note is if you were going to provide those 2 parking spaces off-street, you would need to provide a driveway. And the curb line opening for that driveway would eliminate up to 2 parking spaces. And then you get into sight distance issues if you're coming out of the driveway, being able to look left or right as you're pulling out. Additional on-street parking spaces may need to be eliminated to allow for those sight lines, and that could cause a total on-street parking elimination of up to 4 spaces. So we think that the need to provide 2 off-street parking spaces could have a negative effect on the on-street parking in the area by requiring more on-street eliminated than off-street provided.
It's also important for the board to note that I understand back in 1962 that the laundromat use was not there and were residential uses at that time as well at the premises. And lastly, this proposed project.
Anthony, was it the 62 plans that I was given show half the first floor residential, the other half a store.
Thank you, Mr. Vassalotti. And the board should also note that this action constitutes a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA, pursuant to section 617.5C 1, 2, and 18. So it meets 3 different separate classifications as a type 2 action, indicating that there is no adverse environmental impact from this proposal. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you do have.
So maybe I'll take a stab at just summarizing the application. Right now, the entire first floor is used as a laundromat, and the building is a pre-existing non-conforming building because it doesn't have any parking. It does have a side alley, but that cannot be used for parking. And so the conversion from entire first floor devoted to a laundromat to half of it residential and the other half laundromat, according to the village, requires an additional 3 spaces, whereas your calculations provide that as 2. So really the decision before the board is whether to grant a variance of a net 3 additional spaces. Did I misstate that, Sean?
No, I think you're correct.
So to be clear,
Okay.
there's no spaces anyway for like 20 people. So
Yes.
we're just asking them to say, instead of, was it 18 no spaces, we want them to have 20 no spaces that don't exist?
The 2 net spaces, correct. It's a
Right.
variance for 3 technically, as indicated by Mr. McCarthy, but based upon the calculations and the IT analysis, it's an additional 2 spaces, which Mr. Holt has identified the roadway network has the capacity to absorb.
Okay, got it.
So, one
If
question.
everybody is aware of Clinton Street, it's quite tight there. Parking is, even though it's a 2-way, it's so hard. There's times when I've driven there that I have to wait for 1 car to pass in order for me to go forward. So nothing against you, Mr. Holt, but I'm telling you, I've gone down there and spaces are literally not existent, like on any, and I've driven there pretty much, and my mother owned a 6-family house there that we used to rent. So I'm well aware of the problems there. And that was one of the things, there was always a problem. It was spaces.
The benefit here is, despite the calculations that are required by the code and obviously the variance that were here before you, the laundromat, I submit would have more need for those spaces and certainly turning over throughout the day compared to the residential use on the net add of a studio and a one bedroom being added.
Well, I disagree with you because the people that use the laundromat down there are the people that would within walking distance. Instead of coming up to Beekman or going all the way to Tarrytown, they would use that small laundromat. That is a fact because I see many people walking, you know, having those little carts walking to the laundromat. That I can assure you.
Yeah, I think where you see the on-street parking demand increase is more towards the overnight hours when the residents are home and having their car on street. And that's why we did the nighttime survey. And yeah, parking tightens up from what you see during the daytime to the evening. But we're looking for 2 additional spaces, right? Because there's 2 additional units. And we found those in the nearby area that could accommodate that demand. And the hardship being that if they were to move these spaces off street and have to do a driveway, you're going to eliminate more on street than you're going to create off street.
And
And
you
I
say
understand. And what it's happening is the people start parking on Beekman and on Chestnut Street. I'm sorry, the Picer Street. And they've taken over because there's complaints sometimes. And I know on Beekman now with all new projects and stuff going down towards the river, there's not a lot of spaces for parking. I have a big concern about parking, period.
Mr. Holt, when you said you found spaces nearby, what do you mean by nearby?
Let me pull that up. We found spaces on Beekman, Cortlandt Street, Beekman, and on Clinton as well on one of the evenings.
Like I said, the spaces that you are finding are not on Clinton, mostly not on Clinton. They're in the other neighbor, you know, in other streets or a couple blocks away. So it depends on the other residents of that area.
Correct. Yeah, it's not just Clinton Street. You know, we're looking at the entire area because I think, you know, all streets are supporting other residential uses that exist in the area. I think one of the other things that I did not touch upon in my initial presentation is what we're finding is the residential parking demand is actually higher when we're doing surveys now because of the pandemic and people being more confined to homes. So I think even though we're finding that there was on-street parking available in the nearby area, I think it was a very conservative analysis because you're having higher residential parking demand. You know, people aren't traveling because of COVID, so you know their car is there longer term, and you know I think that finding the available spaces even during the pandemic, you know, it provides a higher level of comfort. And again, it's 2 spaces that would otherwise eliminate on-street parking in order to provide them off-street.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, just on Monday, I had to go pick up something from on the Picer Street, literally on the corner of the Picer Street. And I couldn't find a parking nowhere. So it's the corner of the Picer and Clinton. And I had to double park, put my blinkers on to get the things that I needed to get, to be able to tell the person, I said, I'm sorry, I can't stay. I got to go because there's no parking. And it was, and we're talking about, it was 11:45 in the morning and there was no parking. And this is on a Monday.
I'm listening, Jen. People are hearing me.
Jim, you're
Yeah.
muted.
You're muted now.
Now, what I was saying, we appreciate your concerns.
Can you just walk us through the alley to the left as you're facing the building, and whose is that? What's behind the building, and just explain why there's no parking available?
What happens there is the alleyway, you can't get to the backyard. The building prohibits you from making a turn into that backyard.
Mhm.
And the driveway, actually, we only own half the driveway. The neighbor on the left owns the other half of the driveway. There is a right turn there, which a car can't negotiate. So we can't get in the back and we can't park in the alleyway. So we really have no way of providing any parking, which is the current situation.
I have a street view. If I could share my screen, I can show you a street view of what Mr. Vassilotti is describing.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So here you can see the building adjacent, and navigating here would not be possible. And I'm just gonna, as you can see, there's in this area on Clinton, there's parking along both sides in both directions, clearly parking on both sides, and DePeyster parking on both sides. And that continues all the way down through the other end of Clinton as well, and the surrounding areas.
Okay. Looks like there's a lot of parking there, but I'm not sure when that was taken. Okay. That was off the Google Earth or something?
Yeah, that's Google Maps, and that was a street view on Google Maps. And if you'd like, I could do the aerial as well.
No, that was fine. I mean, but whenever they took that street view, there was certainly a lot of parking spots.
And I'll just, and then this is the aerial. This is our building here highlighted by the red moniker.
Mhm.
And you can see that there's parking that's provided all along Clinton Street, DePeyster, Cedar, Cortland.
I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, there's some daytime parking. It just generally gets much tighter at night. Is that correct?
That's very correct. At night, it's definitely, every space will be filled. During the day, I guess on that particular day and time, there was spaces. But like I said, I was there at 11:30 on a Monday. I had to pick up something from a friend on the Pfizer, and I couldn't find parking. So I double parked while I went in their house, got and came out. And that's, I know them well. So if I want to go visit, I don't take a car. I walk, go down Beekman and turn around, that's the only way to, because they don't have well, they have a driveway, I should say, but their cars are there already. So.
Yeah. These two additional apartments, what's the square footage going to be for each of them?
The new apartments? I mean, the total gross square footage is 1,060 feet.
So we're looking around 500 for each unit.
Like the studio say 4, the one bedroom say 6.
Okay.
100 like 20 by 20.
So are there any other questions from the board for the applicant? All right. Mr. Holt, I have one more question. You said that on one night you found open parking, but on another night you didn't. Unless I misheard you.
Yeah.
What are those nights?
No, they're one night, there, we did not find parking on Clinton, but there was parking on other side streets nearby.
Okay.
And then the other night, we did find parking on Clinton as well.
And Mr. Holt, did you find a situation where there were not 2 spaces available?
No.
All right. Does the board have any other questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on the application? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does the board have any comments on the application that they want to voice now?
I do. This is a challenging thing to consider because parking is a problem. And I'd like to hear the applicant explain how this is not a self-created hardship.
Well, I mean, a self-created hardship. You have the laundromat on the first floor, which requires parking. Okay, and we're taking half that away, so we're eliminating the parking from what's necessary for the laundromat, and we're putting it onto the residential.
Ms. Tripp, as you're aware, the factor that you just identified is one of the 5 factors that the board must consider when weighing your balancing analysis. And that factor alone is not dispositive to the extent that you do find that this is a self-created hardship. And we believe in this particular instance, you look at the overall totality of the circumstances and the balancing of the interest, the benefit to the applicant, where there is no other alternative in this particular instance, as we saw in looking at the street view, there's no possible way, no alternative at all to minimize the variances that are required here, absent tearing down the building and constructing a parking lot with a driveway, which would eliminate on-street parking. And the benefit in this particular instance, we respectfully submit, clearly is in the favor of the applicant, as opposed to any potential detriment to the safety, health, and welfare of the surrounding community, when it's been identified that there has always been at least 2 parking spaces that could be absorbed into the area.
I think we also have to consider the benefit to the village. Sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just gonna say, have you considered just having one apartment in that space, being that the studio is so small?
We haven't considered it. I mean, I'd have to speak with my client to see whether they'd be interested in, say, putting a larger, say 2-bedroom apartment there. I'd have to speak with him. And he's not on this particular Zoom call.
In that instance, that would reduce the requirement for, I believe, 1 space.
What was it, Carlito? Would that be 1 space then? If we had one
Yeah,
apartment.
I'm looking because it changes. Now you're mixing studios and 2s and.
I think it'd be the 1 bedroom is 1.5 space, the 3 bedrooms, 2.5 spaces. 2 bedroom
was 2
spaces. So then it would obviate the need for one of the spaces. We would still need a variance, but it would be a reduction from what's being requested by right now, 1 space. If that is something the board would consider, would you like us to go back to? Obviously, we wouldn't be able to do that this evening. Is that something that the board would be inclined as more favorable?
I would, only because the studio apartment sounds so small. I'm like, why?
Well, I mean, I do apartment buildings, new apartment buildings for the state. And our minimum studio apartment is 300, our maximum studio apartment is 340 feet. So the 400's on the little more generous side.
So Jim, would you be amenable to adjourning this and we have the opportunity to speak with the client?
I'll speak to the client tomorrow, certainly.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in that instance, would it be appropriate if we requested an adjournment to your next month's meeting?
That's absolutely fine.
One last question with the laundromat calculation for parking space, is that based on square footage? Is that?
It's one space per 1,000 square feet.
So you have, right now there's one space?
So right now there's a requirement for 2 spaces because it's 1,850 square feet. By reducing it by 50%, it would bring it down to 900, just under 800 square feet. And then it would only require 1 space. That's why we were talking about the delta in the beginning of the presentation.
But Tom, my point on that is that most of the people that do the laundry are on Clinton and the Peister area. Because if you go throughout the village, you know, most of the laundromats are on the main part of our village. There's nothing down there at that end. So the people that are doing it there, they're doing it by walking to it. They're not using spaces.
Yeah, but
That's a good thing.
Brad, and you're correct, but the truth of the matter is that what we're working with is the regulation. So
No, I understand that.
even though we know that, you know, they are allowed those are, you know, are required to have those spaces per that.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to misrepresent. I think having smaller, more affordable apartments is probably a benefit. So I don't know that would change my discomfort with continuing to perpetuate a problem that our village has with not enough parking. And that is not something that can be borne on one individual's application, but it troubles me. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying that one apartment all of a sudden makes it better. That could be a hardship for others as well. I don't think that's our purview, frankly, to direct that.
Your comments are well taken. We appreciate that. And look, if the laundromat closed for whatever reason, and this space was converted to something other than a residence, for example, if it was converted to a retail shop requires 1 space for 200 square feet.
Mhm.
So, you know, we're still going to be in this situation. Something needs to go in there.
Right.
I understand your dilemma. I understand your concerns. And as you can see, we're trying to work with you and we're trying to do something that works as well for the owner. But, you know, we'll
We
certainly.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
But also our concerns are also our village.
Of course.
I mean, it's crowded already.
Right. But again, something's going to, and obviously we're dealing with calculations that are required by the code. And, you know, we're looking to work with you and we'll speak to our client and hopefully come back to you with something that's a little bit more amenable. Again, I don't think we're going to satisfy your concerns where we can do something that is going to not require any variance. But, you know, I think we're doing the best that we can.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the application to the next hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last item on the agenda, the minutes from the last meeting. I think we received them today. I did review
Yeah.
them. I didn't have any proposed changes, but as the board had a chance to review them.
I had a chance to review changes.
I reviewed it. I didn't see anything I needed to change.
Same here.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the draft minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, again, sorry for my technical difficulties. I'm going to work on that. It's a little windy.
Should we close the public?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
we'd like to close the public.
yeah. So have a good night, everyone. I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
I wanted to see you in one more room, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop the recording and the broadcast.
Thank you.
That was